Hola, ¿cómo estás, mi amigos?
You can change the font size on this.
Fucking hell.
Font sizes are pretty neat. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, we're back at it again with this bullshit.
Times New. Let's see.
Okay, now you decide to get off my leg. Christ. Right when it's about to fall asleep. Dick. Anyway,
Well, at least he didn't let it fall asleep.
I'm surprised he didn't fall asleep. Only seems to fall asleep when it's inconvenient for everyone else. Ain't that right, asshole? Alright. Yeah, we're continuing with the fucking Narnia fanfiction, because Tom's actually here for both days of the weekend.
Ah, what a concept.
Yeah. Starting on chapter 4. Exactly 5 years later.
5 years ago today.
Growing
up, Anne had always been taught that things change, and so do people. We know next to nothing about the kid's parents, if memory serves.
I mean, in the movie, you kind of know, but like even then, it's just for a few minutes. But
And so do people. Yet now that she was a wife and a mother, she was finding it very difficult to accept that her own little family was changing right before her eyes.
their son, their little Prince Rillian, had just turned 5 years old. She and Caspian would be celebrating 6 years of marriage in 3 months' time. And as if that wasn't enough to change for them, they were expecting their second child in just 4 months' time.
Someone needs to learn how to use a condom.
I mean, it's medieval times. Did they have that? The pseudo-medieval stuff.
The kid's 5 years old. That's better than anyone in my family between when they had kids. Because in my family, it's been back to back for all the kids.
Little does anyone know that it's actually that Caspian and Anne's marriage is falling apart, and they thought that a child could fix it.
I was gonna say they were trying to have a second one because the librarian's about to steal the first one, but you know. As anyone can imagine, these last 5 years had been pretty hectic. Indeed, little did they know, though, that things were about to get a little less hectic and a lot more fun.
This over-saccharine stuff is killing me.
Wait,
Hey,
is that how I kill you?
We've only got one more chapter after this, so...
With shit that makes, like, a fucking gay pride parade seem dour? Yes. Christ. 3 months later. Why? Why? Why?
Ooh, I think that's a new record.
Why?
Yeah, more unnecessary time skips.
You don't include a time skip when it's necessary, but you do include it when you don't need it. We didn't need that portion of time. You could have just said 5 months later and had it just where it started with the 3 months later shit.
Where's the fun in that?
It started out like any other day, even for the royalty. I'm going to throw the royal couple into a window. Yeah, I'm not going to defenestrate them. I'm going to fenestrate them. I'm going to be on ground floor and just yeet them into the second story. As always, they got ready themselves, then helped the prince get ready, and then headed down to breakfast. They had a nice meal together, and it just finished when they heard a knock at the door. The librarian.
Yoo-hoo, big summer blowout.
And then...
Come in.
One of the royal messengers walked in. Your Majesties, he said, bowing to everyone, but then looking directly at Queen Anne.
Oh my fucking god. No. You have some visitors. They claim to be your brothers and sisters. So apparently them going back to their own world didn't fucking matter.
At the mention of this, the queen's eyes lit up. A huge smile spread across her face.
Yes, of course. Send them right in. She couldn't believe this. She thought back to the last time she had seen him, and it was 7 years ago. And Asian?
Aslan.
Aslan, sorry, had said that Peter and Susan at least could never come back, but that Edmund and Lucy could. Now apparently they were all here. She wondered what could possibly have changed Aslan's mind after all this time. And then all of her siblings walk in, and they look kind of like the librarian. The librarian walks in behind them. If you don't return your books to me, I won't return. Return your books, and I'll return your siblings.
Now I'm a little upset because I mean that was kind of the whole point of like Peter and Susan not being able to come back. It's like, hey, you've got to live in your own world now. This is a thing. This is
It's a whole thing of like, oh hey, some sort of moral dilemma. I mean, it wasn't much of one because of the fact that it was copied exactly from the books, and so that you knew that what was going to happen and all that shit. But just doubling back on that shit, and no hint of like there being any hardship involved. Just oh hey, we're back.
Yeah.
But of course, she has to show off how good of a mom she is to her family.
You can't just. She was brought out of her little daydream by the sound of Peter's voice. Al, it's been 7 years. Aren't you glad to see me?
She couldn't help but smile and laugh as well when he said that. Of course I am. I'm sorry for not jumping up and greeting you properly, but Caspian came over, took her hand, and helped her up, revealing her significantly protruding belly. I'm sure you can see why I didn't. Well, didn't and can't.
Then one of her siblings says, "Why? Right. They don't have condoms here." Sorry, I'm getting comfort food real quick.
Okay, that's fun.
I have Oreos.
Oreo.
I have double stuffed party-sized Oreos, but I have no one to party with.
That sounds about right.
I have actually the same thing in my pantry, and my roommates don't like Oreos, so they're all for me. Yay!
I just don't like the off-brand ones because they always taste burnt.
Burnt Oreos. I'm going to make that a flavor.
That's how they taste.
Well, it depends on the batch. Like I've had some that don't taste burnt. And,
I have never had one that didn't.
Shock spread on everyone's face upon seeing this. A burnt Oreo?
You actually got laid? We never assumed that would happen, even if you did get married.
We kind of thought that he would, divorce you or like chop off your head at this point, turn you into a cock. Anyways, but we're all very much thrilled at the prospect of having a new niece or nephew in the family. She made her way over to them and hugged them all as tight as she could, crushing them.
It's so great to see everyone. She looked over at Susan. There's just one thing I don't understand. When you guys left the last time, the librarian had said that Edmund and Lucy could come back, but that you and Peter couldn't. What changed?
To tell you the truth, Anne, I really don't know. 1 minute we were all on the bus headed to school, and the next minute we were here.
They don't even give an explanation?
The writer's American, I'm calling it now.
Yep.
We're just here.
Good?
It doesn't really matter why, turns to look at camera.
Oh, God.
Caspian stood up from his chair and walked over. What matters is that it did, and you're all here now. It really is great to see you again. Oh, I'm going to get a bad throat after this again. Ugh. He went over and hugged all of them as well, before wrapping his right arm around Anne's waist.
It really doesn't matter why. And who's this? Lucy asked, looking at the little dark-haired child standing in front of them.
Dude, you skipped a line.
Number 15. Bad plot.
No, I didn't.
It doesn't really matter why Caspian stood up from his
Zane just read that, you fuck.
Did he? Oh,
yes.
Okay. Oh, gotcha. Oh yeah, he did. I'm stupid.
Yes. It's also your line.
This, Anne replied, placing a hand on his shoulders, is our son and your nephew, Rillian, Prince of Narnia. Wow, who names their kid Rillian?
What kind of stupid name is Rillian?
He looks so much like both of you, Edmund spoke up. Caspian and Anne smiled at each other and shared a brief kiss before turning their attention back to the company.
Caspian then knelt down to his son's level. Really? And these are your aunts and uncles. This is your Uncle Peter, your Aunt Susan,
Hey,
your
Peter!
Uncle Edmund, and your Aunt Lucy. Can you say hi?
The little prince was rather shy, but waved his little hand and in a whisper said hi while still clinging tightly to his father.
Aw, I want to punt him out a window.
Just dunk him like I am this Oreo.
Come on and slam.
Hey there. Hey there, Rillian. Want to see a game from our world? You just have to go over to the river real quick. You'll be fine.
No,
Kick
no,
the
no. I was
baby.
thinking like they just take out a basketball hoop and slam dunk the child.
Yes, we brought this with us. Don't ask.
Leaps into the air.
Is my line well or as?
Well.
Well. Looky, Susan said, smiling, looking at her oldest sister. It looks like you two have been very busy lately. How far along are you anyway?
I hate that. No.
Hate me or the story?
The story. I hate that line.
Why?
There is something so wrong about that being used in the world setup. You know, a sex joke in Narnia.
Not in my Christian server.
Not in my obvious Christian allegory. Fucking hell. Like, that doesn't fit with the world that's been set up. So it just feels wrong and out of place. As of today, I am exactly 8 months. Anne said, rubbing her large belly and smiling. Both Caspian and I are hoping for a girl, but we would just be just as happy with another boy. That way they could fight to the death for succession.
They all talked inside for a few more minutes before deciding to take a nice, peaceful stroll through the Castle Guardians and really catch up.
I dislike how you italicized really.
I remember fighting my sibling for succession of the family.
It has the same energy as the very earlier, and I dislike that.
That sucks.
Like it makes it seem like it's supposed to be an innuendo, which no.
As of today, I'm exactly 8 months, and said,
No.
rubbing.
I read that one. Tom read the next
They
one.
had been walking and talking for about 15 minutes or so, when all of a sudden they heard a soft, padded footsteps behind them. Everyone turned around and saw none other than the librarian himself standing in front of them.
Lucy reacted first, running over and hugging her, burying herself in her mane.
You're not supposed to be here, says Aslan, tearing them apart.
Librarian! How did you know we were all here?
Why did Lucy suddenly turn into the librarian?
I've been voicing all the siblings as the librarian because of the joke Zane made.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
About them all actually being the librarian in disguise.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So now it's just the librarian talking to the librarian.
I always know where you are all the time, she replied. Now, Peter and Susan, you're probably wondering why you're back here when I told you last time that you never would.
That is because you are me.
It's because I lied. Susan spoke up. Yes, we would actually. Peter nodded. The librarian nodded, her head in agreement.
Just instead of names, just the library for all of them. I brought not only you two back, but also you two also. She now looked at the librarian and the librarian. Because, after all this time, I finally saw that you all fitted so much better here than you ever did in London. I'm just sorry that it took so long for me to realize it.
Boo! Boo!
I hate it. The point is they didn't belong there. They belonged in their world.
Mm-hmm. This is fan fiction, guys. So, Edmund spoke for everyone when he asked, "How long are we going to be able to stay here?" You okay there, Llytic?
I don't know why he just caught me off guard. How long are we going to be here this time?
That's really what I came here for. You have a choice. You can either go back in 3 days or never go back at all.
Everyone's eyes lit up and huge smiles broke out on all their face. I dislike that phrasing.
Really? We can stay here. We never have to go back, Lucy asked, practically jumping up and down with excitement. Okay.
Fuck you. I need to go watch the new Superman movie.
Oh, no.
The librarian chuckled before smiling as well. Yes, dear one, if you don't want to.
At that moment, they all ran over and hugged her tight, thanking her profusely. Not as tight, though, as Queen Anne. She finally had her brothers and sisters back with her. Her librarians and librarians back with her. As far as she was concerned, her life was just about perfect. All she needed now was this child within her, and it would be. It really would.
I'm just picturing, like, Anne doesn't actually recognize that they're all the librarian.
Anne thinks that they're all her siblings. I see you have yet to break the spell I've put over you.
What was that, brother?
Nothing.
Nothing.
So all of them say nothing in unison.
In unison.
One of them trailed behind slightly. Nothing.
They all look at that one,
just glare at him.
Sorry. Tom.
Okay, so I read really we can stay here, and then
Author's note.
Oh, whoops. Author's note. Sorry if this chapter isn't as good as the others, and also that it took a little longer to get up. I went through a little bit of a dry spell yesterday, but thankfully it was able to finish up today. Okay, how
reviews for this? Yeah, hold on.
Are you actually looking up reviews for it?
Yep.
Just let's see how many more unnecessary time skips we can get in, and how much more that we can fuck over the canon of this series.
I don't care about fucking over the canon. It's just the fact that it's almost like depressingly typical. Like, we have it to where, like,
there's no conflict
of the actual series admitted they made a mistake and so decided to change a thing for the excuse of changing a thing.
Let me get this straight. She had Aslan walk her down the aisle. What the frick? Do you not get the metaphor in the book about him being Jesus? That he was a fucking stand-in for the Christ himself? Or did you just decide that it would be a funny thing to have Aslan himself fussing over your Sue? I hate to break it to you, but Aslan never fussed much over Susan or even Lucy. They were far more important than Anne ever will be. They were the queens in their own right. Anne's just pathetic little hang-on that managed to grab onto that next king. And unlike her, they actually knew that they had responsibilities. Anne just wants the fancy parts of being a queen with none of the responsibility.
Yeah.
Oh, and all the guests were absolutely blown away by how beautiful she looked. They lived in a world where there were tons of beautiful people, and they once had Queen Susan as a leader who was famous for her beauty. Unless you want to, once again, try and shove Susan out the picture in the vain hope of making Anne look like anything more than a shallow, selfish character.
Oh my god.
Oh, and here's the final part for you. In the books, Caspian was 12 when he assumed the throne.
Oh no.
Seeing as Anne can't be that much older than Peter, as there is an age limit to Narnia, she would have to be around 14. A 14-year-old marrying a 12-year-old. Yep. That's an epic romance right there.
That would be even worse than the 18-year-old. I mean, no, that wouldn't quite be even worse.
Wait a second. She was pregnant at 15! Oh my god!
Either way, she fucked a 12-year-old.
Oh, fucking hell. Also, there's another one right above this review that says this isn't a story. This is a self-fulfillment fantasy.
That's how most self-insert fanfictions are.
That's
It's not saying much. And again, that's never the part that I'm going to fucking peg someone on. It's the fact that their self-insert character just tends to be poorly written. Like, if you're gonna do a self-insert character, at least
Make
do
them-
it well. Like,
Or make them
every-
completely useless. That'd be
Well, like-
hilarious.
like every single fucking Stephen King story involves a character who's like a down on his luck writer.
How the hell is Stephen King down on his luck?
Mostly the drugs.
Hmm.
On top of that, it's the whole thing of like a lot of his earlier books were back before he was actually getting like recognition. Like some of his like best known books were back whenever he was just written off by everyone.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like how Lovecraft's character, like self-insert character in the Dreamlands, who is a character who is a writer whose talents aren't recognized by the world around him. Yeah. Point is, other authors, like professional authors, do self-insert characters and do them well. The issue is actually writing a good character based on yourself.
If I did any of my, if I had to self-insert myself into any book, I would never be the main character.
Well, yeah.
Because I
mean,
know for a fact that I would never be a main character. I would not accept the call to action. I'd go home.
But yeah, like a lot of Stephen King stories though, like Jack Torrance, technically a self-insert, being a writer from Maine with a sometimes unsteady mental state and drug abuse. Like there's the fucking writer character from It. It kind of just goes on. Like professional writers have done self-inserts. There's no issue with the self-insert itself.
Do you have
The
a
issue-
self-insert and unmasked?
No,
Why not?
I don't feel like it
Why not?
because I don't want to.
Come on, man. Just put yourself in the book. Say they go to, like, your workplace one time, and you're the
God.
cashier.
Oh God. I mean, if I were to do a self-insert, it'd probably be it to where it's just like someone who has just like a massive wealth of information, like an information broker or something like that. Other than that,
I mean, it is your world. Every info you give
Yeah.
is technically correct.
yeah. Anyway, 1 month later, chapter 5. 1 month later, early morning, Queen Anne had gone to bed around 9 p.m. I have several questions. The night before, and had been sleeping pretty well up until now. After all of a sudden, a sharp pain shot through her, but then just as quickly went away. She had tried to go back to sleep and had no sooner shut her eyes when it happened again, this time leaving a very familiar wetness in its wake. It's amazing that she only has to deal with the contractions happening whenever she's actually about to give birth,
Yeah.
considering the fact that those can end up happening, I think at least a day before it actually happens.
She looked over at Caspian. She knew he had been very tired lately, and she did want to let him sleep, but he had to know that their second child was now officially away. She leaned over as best I could and whispered in his ear.
Huh? Was that a slip up?
Possibly in the writing, yes.
Ooh, Tabbery.
Hold on, sorry. I have to process just what happened. I need to reread that. Did she did she say I leaned over like herself leaned over?
No, she leaned over as best I could.
Oh.
Ooh, Tabbery.
Oh fuck. Alright, fuck. So is my line she looked or
No, Caspian.
Caspian? She shook his shoulder a little bit. Wake up, darling, it's time. The baby's coming.
Darling.
Darling?
That's nice, he said sleepily. Then, not even 2 seconds later, he practically shot out of bed, finally realizing what she had just told him.
Really? Already?
I dislike that trope.
She nodded and pulled down the covers a little, revealing a huge wet spot on her nightgown. Oh,
Are
gross, you peed yourself in my bed.
Are you sure the baby didn't just kick your bladder again? God damn it. All right, my love, just stay calm and breathe. He leaned over and gave her a kiss. It'll be all right.
Hang on, lost my place.
Why?
I need something to make me feel good right now.
Okay.
And Porpy the Peepo helps.
I mean, if it weren't for the way she was described by other characters in the series, there's a whole thing. She just looks like a short person. All the characters like, nah, she looks like she's 12. You all look the same.
You think the cat? You think the bird looks like the snake?
I'm saying proportion, like, they have the same torso. It's just that Mia has tits.
And yeah, okay.
Am I wrong?
I don't really stare at their hips, so I wouldn't know.
Everyone has the same fucking proportions. It's just like the size. It's just like the height and the tits that change.
And they're monster parts. But
Well,
yes,
no.
but that should just be a given.
Yeah.
Hold on, I'm about to compare the hips on Pappy to the hips on Sue. Cause hold on. What the fuck are you saying?
I mean, if memory
God.
serves, Pappy has like thinner thighs, but
Hey, Llytic.
what?
Your vibes. I require the check.
Sue, you back the fuck up.
Vibe
That's
check.
the thing that always annoys me in like fucking anime and shit. Is like, do you not know that short people exist? Not every short person looks like a child.
I think that's just a Japan problem. Maybe.
I
Don't quote me
mean,
on that. I've never been to Japan. I have no right to say that. I am not a Japoni expert.
I mean, Japanese. I mean, Korean and Chinese comics sometimes have that issue too.
So is it just an Eastern problem?
I think it might just be an East European problem.
European.
I mean, East Asian. Holy shit! It's not a Russian problem. It's not a Russian problem.
Bum.
I mean,
Hello, comrade.
Not entirely. There are a lot of fucking weebs in Russia.
I'm just picturing. Hello there, short comrade. Are you 12? No, I am 22.
Hello, comrade. How old are you? Hello, for short comrade.
I am
I
30.
cannot tell your age.
I am 30.
Oh.
Just super deep voice.
Oh. Apologies, comrade. Thought you might be lost child.
Be careful. I am closer to more vital things I can strike.
Apologies. Did not mean to upset you.
Hey. Alrighty.
Is it my line?
I think it's my line, right?
It was me, Tio. God fucking damn it.
It's my line, right, Llytic, or were you still doing yours?
Who read the last fucking line? Was it me?
You read the last line, but I don't remember.
Yes. It's
Okay.
yours then.
He walked out the door closed and then yelled down the hall, Peter, Susan,
Hey,
Edmund,
Peter.
Lucy.
Peter.
Peter. At that instant, all their doors flew open and they came running out and over to where he stood.
Why was there a quotation mark there? Also, what the actual fuck is this synchronized bullshit? Zane's line.
Well, they're all the librarians, so.
Hello!
Caspian, what's going on? asked Susan, now very much awake.
It's Anne. She just went into labor. Quick, go get the midwife. Hurry. Tom?
Yeah. Give me sorry.
Tomas.
Give me a sec. Going back to where we were accidentally closed out.
Why are you like this?
I don't know. I'm sorry. Everybody's eyes got wide, hers included. She turned and ran in the direction of the midwife.
The direction of the midwife? Is she east? While they waited, everyone did their best to keep the nervous father to be, again, calm. Lucy laid reassuring hands on his arm. Maybe he's nervous because he actually started to realize that this is the fucking librarian.
It's all right. It will all be okay in the end. You'll see.
Thanks, Lucy. They shared a brief hug before Peter spoke up.
Peter.
Hey, Peter. Hey, Peter. Hey, Peter. I'm in a Narnia fanfiction, Peter.
Peter.
Hey, Peter. They didn't have, hold on. Hey, Peter. They didn't think about cripples back in this time. I can't get down the stairs, Peter. Sorry. Cripple was probably not the best word to use.
Hey, Lois. I'm in a Narnia fanfiction, Lois.
I could just picture Peter in the background right now, watching her get like watching her have a baby. She's like, I can't do the Peter laugh. Before Peter. Sorry, where are we again? Sorry.
Yeah. No wait.
Yeah.
No wait.
Look.
Before Peter spoke up. So another librarian line. Look.
Oh. Look, Caspian. We'll wait right here for Susan and the midwife. You go back in. You go on back in there.
Yeah. The librarian agreed. She needs you right now.
He nodded. Okay, thanks, you guys. Okay, thanks, you guys. He walked back into the room and closed the door.
We make our own fun here.
How are you feeling, my love? He asked, walking back over to her.
She was just about to answer when another contraction started up. Not to be confused with a contraption starting up in the corner.
I don't know.
Under pressure.
What?
Nothing. Shut up.
Da 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 da.
Papa.
Oh God, Vanilla Ice, what are you doing here?
I'm always here in your heart.
Yeah.
Collaborate and listen. Oh, hell. Okay. Ooh! She gritted her teeth in pain, squeezed his hand.
Ooh, woo.
Ooh,
Just breathe. The midwife will be here soon. I promise. He picked her
notices
hand.
your baby. Ooh, what's this?
He picked her hand up in this and then leaned in and kissed her forehead.
Nice going, forehead.
Ow.
At least it's not a 5 head.
No sooner he said that than the midwife and her 4 nurses, followed by the librarian, hurried into the room.
Wait a minute.
What?
She blurted out. Suddenly, in between contractions, a look of worry spread across her face. Who's watching Rillian?
Relax, Anne. Don't worry. Lucy comforted her, taking one of her hands and giving it a reassuring pat. Peter and Edmund have that all under control.
That's right. My love. Don't worry. The only thing you need to do right now is concentrate on having this baby. Just think. A few hours from now, we'll be holding our new little prince and princesses in our arms. They both smiled before leaning in for a brief kiss.
Just then, the midwife looked up. After having checked her, and smiled. Actually, Your Majesties, it may just be a couple of hours. Things are moving along rather quickly. It's almost as if the librarian's magic is moving this along.
That's wonder.
But she's not in here. This is the midwife looking around like, yeah, she's
No.
not.
I'm just imagining both the librarian and the librarian. Yes. In unison.
The midwife just rolls with it, just like, okay.
That's wonder, ellipses. But before she could finish, a huge contraction swept over her, causing her to let out the loudest scream anyone in the room had ever heard. Everyone's ears were bleeding, except for the librarians. And the librarians. They knew this was coming. By now, the librarian had taken the librarian's place next to the bed, and Caspian was on the other side. They were each holding a hand, and each of their hands felt like it was about to fall off. It wasn't easy, but they both managed to hold in a cry of pain, considering all the pain the queen was in at the moment.
My
pain is greater than your pain.
When the contraction had finally ended, she, much to their delight, had let go their hands. As you can imagine, after 4 hours of this, Anne was absolutely dripping with sweat and needed something to cool her off a little. Then, as if Caspian could somehow read her mind, as in probably just looking at her,
yes,
he took a piece of cloth, dipped it in cold water, and wiped her forehead with it. She looked up at him gratefully and smiled.
Thanks, that does a lot.
Anything for you, darling. Anything for you.
Just then, yet another contraction swept over her, causing her to let out a painful scream. And again squeezed the hands of those trying to comfort her. Please, God, make it stop. It hurts too much. Just get this baby out of me, she screamed.
The sooner it comes out, the sooner you stop touching me. I know. You're getting closer, though. He got the wet cloth and once again wiped her forehead.
You got the cloth wet.
Cloth wet. It won't be too much longer now, I promise. He leaned in, and so that his forehead. He leaned in, and so that his forehead was touching her. I love you, Mike Tyson.
Dun, 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 dun. Mike Tyson's punch out.
She just starts doing a fucking Dempsey roll in the hospital bed. Just both of her arms go up to her like her fists are shielding her chin.
The librarians are very confused because she's still holding their hands.
Just starts like moving back, like her upper body back and forth at a figure eight. Make it stop. He whispered in her ear, "More than you will ever know."
I love you too. They shared in a very brief kiss before yet another contraction came upon her, and she once again screamed out in pain. Just as quickly as it had come on, passed just as quickly, and she flopped back against the pillows. Please, God, she thought to herself, please just let this all this be over. I don't think I could take much more of this pain.
In her mind, she heard the librarian's voice. There is no God here, only me.
Only your library books.
Only your overgrowth.
I'm just picturing Aslan poking his head inside, like, you called? And then the librarian looks over, no, not you!
I don't know, like, Aslan initially arrives, but then the librarian just, like pins him down. No!
This is my library.
You're in my domain, child.
2 hours later.
Hold on.
He didn't finish his.
I didn't finish it yet.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. Little did she know, however, that the pain she had already experienced was only the beginning. It was about to get worse, much worse. Someone's gonna die.
Take a dark fucking turn.
I hope so.
2 hours later. It seemed like forever, but before everyone knew it, another 2 hours had passed. Anne had been in labor for 5½ hours. I
So
didn't
the
think
libra-
it could take much more.
So the midwife fucking lied.
Thankfully, the midwife was about to give her some good news. So very good news.
All right, Your Majesty. The midwife looked up at her and smiled, relishing in her pain. It looks like you're finally ready to push.
Finally, she thought to herself, looking up. Thank you.
This is only the beginning, child.
Lucy took hold of her left hand, and Caspian took hold of her right, covering it with his other hand and kissing it.
Hey.
She then looked up at the midwife. I'm ready.
Now, said the midwife, as soon as you feel the urge to do so, I want you to give me one good, strong push.
She started to poop.
Oh, God. I mean, that does actually happen.
That's why you're not supposed to eat for a while before going to the hospital, if I recall.
She had only
That's
waited
bad
maybe...
cancer.
Yeah, she had only waited
You want to
maybe...
interrupt Tom again? Sorry.
It's okay. It was a good joke. She had only waited maybe 30 seconds or so before a contraction hit, and she felt the urge to push.
I mean, maybe.
I can leave if y'all don't want me here.
I want you here, Tom. I need you here. I can barely do this myself right now.
Fine, I'll stay for your sake, Zane.
Thanks.
She did so with everything she had, and when it was over, she leaned back against the pillows.
Okay, one more push.
Isn't that Zane's line?
Yeah.
Oh, right, whoops.
Fucking maybe. Fuck you. Okay, one more push, and the head should be out. Another contraction swept over her, and she again pushed with all her might, screaming probably the loudest she had ever screamed in her life as the head started to crown.
Why is there a quotation mark there?
So like she's like beating her world record for the loudest scream like twice now.
She's killed multiple people with this. Good,
Maybe
the
that's
head's
why.
out.
That's why the librarian's here. She's a danger to her family.
All right, good. The head's out, my queen. Just one more push. Finally have your baby.
She waited for another contraction, and as soon as it came around, she pushed down with all her remaining strength, letting out one final scream as she did. She then felt something slip out of her, followed by the sound they had both been waiting to hear for the last 9 months and 6 hours, the healthy cries of a baby.
Congratulations, my queen. You have a very healthy little...
Mine! Turns out it's not actually what the librarian's about to snatch it. She straight up just gave birth to a mine.
Explosion. Everyone except for the multiple librarians are dead.
Yeah, we probably should have taken care of that sooner. Yes.
Ah, well, you win some, you lose some.
Wait, she stopped before she could finish. I want Caspian to tell me what we have. I'm pretty sure it's a baby.
Very well.
It might be a landmine.
She looked up at Caspian. My king, would you do the honors?
Dun-dun-dun.
It's a landmine.
He
It's a
nodded.
landmine, the last thing you want in the hospital room.
The last thing you want in your wife's uterus, a landmine.
He nodded and walked out to the end of the bed.
He looked down at the baby, and a huge smile came over his face. As soon as he looked back up at her, still smiling, she could see the tears rolling down his cheeks.
It's a girl, he said, all choked up. We have a beautiful, healthy little girl. He wrapped his right arm around both her shoulders, leaned in, kissed the side of her head, and whispered softly in her ear, "You are amazing. I love you so much. She's absolutely perfect." By now, of course, Anne had started crying as well. They both leaned in for kiss, and then anxiously waited for their new daughter to be brought back over.
Lean in for kiss. Make sure to leave room for Jesus. About 5 minutes later. I don't think we needed to skip for this, but okay.
No.
It had seemed like forever, but the midwife finally brought their daughter back over to them, wrapped snugly in a soft, big blanket. Her tiny arms waving wildly about in the air. I care so little for this story, I had already forgotten what gender she is.
Yeah, you're up. I think it was a landmine.
Yeah, it kind of got muddled there in the middle too. Oh, no,
Oh god, I was trying to find like a specific like office meme.
Mm-hmm.
The one of like Jim whenever he finds out his wife's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
Just that smile. Looked back at her smiling, tears in his eyes. Like looking like he's having a fucking mental break. As the landmine was placed in Anne's arms, the librarian motioned to the librarian to go and get the librarian, and little Ian. The librarian ran out the door, quietly closing it behind her.
Meanwhile, in the princess room, not too far away, the librarian and the librarian were both sitting on the floor, playing with their little nephew.
I wonder what's taking so long, the librarian said, looking up at the librarian.
I know, the librarian replied. She has to have had the baby by now.
They both turned their attention back to Rillian and had just gone back to played with him. No sooner had they, though, when the librarian walked into the room with a smile on his face.
This sounds like a sitcom that has just got off the fucking rails. like it was actually like an online horror thing the entire time, just pretending to be a sitcom, and so you just have one where like everyone's played by the same person.
They both stood up themselves, the librarian picking up little Rylan and stared at her intently.
Well, when did she have a baby? Is it a boy or a girl? They asked her anxiously.
She had the baby about 5 minutes ago, the librarian replied. As for whether it's a boy or a girl, why don't you come and see for yourselves?
Not that you don't already know.
We know all. No, it's just separate examples of the librarian don't have the same knowledge. They just have the knowledge they had when they split from each other.
Ah.
Yeah.
What are we waiting for then? Let's go, the librarian said impatiently. She walked out first and everyone else followed. The librarian operated the rear, closing the door behind them.
About 5 minutes later, they stood outside the royal bedchamber. The librarian quietly opened the door and they all tiptoed in, this time with the librarian closing the door behind them. They took a couple of steps in and looked around, noticing that the midwife and her nurses had since left. They looked up and saw the librarian standing off to one side of the bed and sitting up in the bed, and Caspian standing on the other side next to her. Then they noticed that she was cradling a small bundle, and that it had been wrapped in... Where the fuck you get a pink fabric in a pseudo-medieval world? Well, the librarian and the librarian did. The librarian, of course, had been there for the actual birth, so she already knew it was a girl.
They all walked a little further into the room, still trying to be as quiet as possible. Unfortunately, though, someone's foot made the tiniest little noise, causing everyone around the bed to look up.
As the landmine exploded.
No one's gonna get that. That's so out of context.
No one. Fucking no one. I think E.G. Tan is currently like just watching what's going on with chat.
Just like, huh? This is a thing.
Fucking hell.
Slide is
yes.
Anne was the first of them to say anything, and did so very quickly. Hey, you
Quietly.
guys, come. Oh. Hey, you guys, come on over. There's something we want you all to meet. Beep,
Boom.
beep.
You gotta be careful with handling her. She might explode. Oh. Okay. There we go. All right. They all did as they were told, with the librarian heading over. The librarian was on one side of the bed, and the librarian, and little Rylian heading over to the other. The librarian set him down carefully, and he quietly made his way over to his father. Caspian leaned over and picked him up before setting him down on the bed where he had previously been sitting, and then leaning in himself, his right arm resting on the back of the bed.
This, he said, looking at their son before looking at their new daughter, is your new little sister. He then glanced over at Anne. And this, she looked first to the librarian, and then to the librarian and the librarian, is your new little niece, Ariana, or as she will be known to everyone else, Princess Ariana.
They all leaned in close and smiled lovingly at their new niece. Congratulations, you two. She's beautiful, said the librarian.
I love her blinking red light.
Everyone else voiced their agreement, causing the proud new parents to smile and lean in for another kiss.
That is a nice pressure plate she has. After about 20 minutes of conversation, and after all the proud librarians had their chance to hold the new landmine, the librarian spoke up.
Lovely.
All right, I think it's about time we let the new family have some time to themselves. Come on, everyone. They all waved, mouthed the words, I love you, before one by one heading out the door, with the librarian closing it behind them.
Was now just the four of them in the room, and looked over at Caspian. Well, it seems like everyone's gotten to hold our little landmine except for you. Would you like to hold your landmine now, Daddy? Why me?
Would you like to hold the landmine now, Daddy?
He looked over her and smiled. You don't even have to ask. Of course I do. He leaned in and lifted Ariana out of his wife's arms and into his own. He smiled down at her and lightly caressed her pressure plate. Tears coming to his eyes as her teeny little red dot grabbed his. Oh God! This landmine can grab people. Oh no! Although not for the first time, she opened her blinking. I don't know, her blinking dot. This is hard for me. He blinked a couple times, not really believing what he saw. A landmine that could blink. Every feature of her front was exactly like her eyes. Her nose, her cheeks, her eyebrows, everything. Really, except for a little wisp of dark brown curly hair on her head.
What is this baby
dark brown curly paint on her head, which she most definitely got from her mother.
Why is this landmine born with hair?
They
typically don't have hair when they pop out.
He held her up close to his face and whispered, "You're Daddy's little girl, and you'll always will be. I love you." In her
Daddy's
ear.
little landmine.
Daddy's little landmine. She then exploded.
Country roads.
Take me home.
To the place I belong.
West
Virginia.
Mountain Mama. Take me home, country road.
Before gently setting her back in the arms of her mother. Did he know, however, that she had been watching this secret little interaction between father and daughter with a smile on her face the whole time?
Between father and landmine. When she was comfortably back in her mother's arms and their son was snuggled up next to her as well, Caspian sat back down on the bed, wrapped his right arm around his wife's shoulders, and kissed the side of her head before they all turned their attention to the newest landmine of their family.
This episode has just been a downward spiral into madness.
I think an upward spiral into madness. We haven't descended into madness. We have ascended to a higher plane of thinking.
Is it my line?
No, I think it's Llytic's line.
Oh.
I said the newest member of the family.
Oh, so it's my line. She
Yes.
really is beautiful, isn't she? He asked.
Yes, she really is. She looks exactly like her father, and I wouldn't have it any other way. Baby, how can you tell? They both smiled at each other before he then gently tilted her chin up, leaned down, and captured her lips with his in yet another amazing kiss.
It was then, in that very moment, alone with their husband, son, and newborn landmine, that Anne started to realize just how much the librarian had blessed not only her, but both of them. She had blessed her by bringing the most wonderful man into her life, with whom she had been married just a little over 6 years. She had blessed them both of them, by just after 9 months of marriage, giving them their adorable little son, and now, almost 5.5 years later, their beautiful new landmine as well.
She didn't just feel like she was living in the fairy tale life, she really was. If anyone ever asked her what she would change about it, she knew just how she'd answer them. Not a thing, not one little thing. Explodes.
I'm just picturing like the landmines being placed in her bed, and a servant comes in to like clean the bed up real quick, and they don't notice the landmine in the bed, so they just kind of like put the blanket down and like directly like hit their hand on it, and it just fucking explodes.
Well, looks like we got to try for another.
Maybe we'll get a grenade this time.
Oh god.
Alright, that's all for this fan fiction, though. Luckily,
Yeah, thankfully.
When did we start this?
A while ago. I think we've been going for about an hour and a half now. Maybe.
Yeah, no, almost an hour. Little under.
Almost an hour. Yeah. Okay. We only had 2 chapters, so it makes sense.
Yeah.
Alright, so do you want to try to do dumb BS to make it up to an hour, though?
Nah.
Because I want to do one thing before we leave.
Why?
I'm going to go onto fanfiction.net, and in the story section, just type in landmine and see what happens.
Well, good luck
Detonate.
with that.
This place is a landmine. The landmine. Katniss enters in the arena, but is distracted when it comes at the last second. One shot. And then there's landmine, diamond on a landmine. Wow.
I think
like
that's
it.
Minecraft.
Diamond on a landmine. Oh, that's a song.
Minecraft?
Nope, this doesn't look like Minecraft.
Okay, that seems like it would be a Minecraft thing.
It's by
Anyway.
Billy Talent.
Anyway.
Oh, this was fun.
Special thank you to Destiny Baird if you'd like for donating to our Patreon. If you'd like a shout out, or if you just like to support the series. I mean,
yes, keep enabling us, please.
Yes. Consider donating to our Patreon. You can get me to say your name for as little as $5 a month, or get your name on screen for as little as $1. Some other little.
Alright, for everyone who donates, I shall give you an overdue library book so that you too can meet the librarian.
Give me my books!